check 1 2. 1 2. A. Audio check 1 2 3 4 5.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. How no do? Good morning. All right, I do thank you for your patience. Good morning, one and all. If it was church, I'd say I greet you in the mighty name of Jesus. The Prime Minister is almost here. We do have a little bit of reverb in the microphone. So we are about to begin. I'm going to ask those persons within the sound of my voice who may be on the outside, I'm going to ask you to come inside, find a seat, find a good spot, find a good angle. I have a great feeling that it's going to be a great morning as we celebrate with these 99 soon-to-be inspectors of police. So we're going to begin momentarily, all right? Thank you for your patience. Please stand for the arrival of the Prime Minister. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated. Let me say a special good morning to Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice, the Honorable Robert Montague, Member of Parliament, our Police Commissioner, Dr. Kevin Blake. Let me take the opportunity to acknowledge Mr. Clifford Blake, our Deputy Commissioner in charge of iProbe, Mr. Richard Stewart, Deputy Commissioner in charge of the Crime and Security Portfolio, Mr. Andrew Lewis, Acting Deputy Commissioner in charge of Administration and Support Services, to Mr. Warren Clark, he is here, Deputy Commissioner Acting in charge of Strategic Operations, to Karina Powell-Hood, the Acting Deputy Commissioner in charge of Force Development and Logistics. Good morning to all the Assistant Commissioners, other members of the High Command, area commanders, divisional commanders, very proud divisional commanders and area commanders, other members of the gazetted ranks, members of the media, specially invited guests, members of the Constabulary Force family, good morning to you. If you feel proud of the 99, put your hands together for them. From the outset, I'm going to take some liberties as chair of the program. I'm going to take liberties that everybody, without question, is supposed to behave like today is an important day. And you're supposed to you're going to treat this, every picture that you take, you're treating it as the big deal that it is. Because make no mistake, this is a big deal. Make no mistake, this is not something that happens every day, and there are members of the Constabulary Force who have been here for decades, and they have never seen anything the like of this. And so you are a part of something that is indicative of a transformation that you have every right to feel proud about. So this is big deal business right now, and you have all right to feel like it and act like it, and the friends and family have all right to feel like it and act like it, and the divisional commanders who are happy that they're getting back an inspector or two have all reason to be proud, because you have done something important and you are in the midst of a process of modernization and transformation that we all should be proud of. At this time, I'm going to invoke the presence of God as we adopt a posture of reverence. I'm going to invite Sergeant Senoro Newell to come forward for the invocation.
Good morning. Can I invite you to stand as we bow our heads in prayer? Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. Father, we thank you for this occasion. Hitherto hath you helped us, and so we invite your presence in this graduation ceremony for this cohort of soon to be new inspectors. As our theme states, the real voyage, embracing new visions, transforming destinies. We pray that this transformation will transcend these walls and our imaginations. We pray that as law enforcement officers, police in this dynamic social space, you will give us wisdom for decision making, protection against our enemies, and dedication for the task at hand. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. And the people say, Amen.
Amen. All right, we're going to be running a tight ship. We're going to be moving through this program. I know Prime Minister has another engagement. We're going to enjoy it as much, but we're going to be efficient. Today, I'm going to invite to provide the official welcome and acknowledgements a gentleman who is a very hard worker in the field of training. He is ACP training, Mr. Merrick Watson. Put your hands together for him. Oh, sorry, my humble apologies. Standing in his stead is SSP Fletcher, Aaron Fletcher, in his stead.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. Horace Chang, Minister of Justice, other members of the executive present, for our Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake, other members of the Council of Deputies, senior officers of the JCF in attendance, and particularly I'd love to acknowledge our divisional commanders, our specially invited guests, families, friends, loved ones, and I deliberately say last but not least, our 99 graduates. I take the liberty of saying our newly minted inspectors of police. Welcome. And to the graduates, congratulations. This ceremony today marks the celebration of a remarkable milestone in the lives of our graduates. From this Inspector Development Program, it is with great pride and joy that we welcome all this morning to this momentous occasion, a day that marks not only the culmination of hard work and dedication, but also the beginning of a new chapter in the professional lives of our members. This day is the exemplification of the shared vision of our Commissioner of Police and his team of deputies, senior managers, and leaders as we seek to build out that JCF, that force for good. Graduates, you have embarked on a transformative journey, filled with challenges, I know. You have come away with growth and invaluable learning experiences. Your commitment has been unwavering. Through rigorous training, you have honed your skills, deepened your knowledge, and developed the leadership qualities necessary to serve and protect. On behalf of the team, I'd like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to the families, friends, mentors, instructors, who have supported our graduates throughout the journey, and the officers, the bosses who believed in you. Your encouragement and belief in this potential has played an integral role in your inspectors' success today. Today is a day that is deserving of great celebration for your support in light of their attainment. Graduates, as you step into your new roles as inspectors, remember that you carry with you the values instilled in this program: integrity, respect, professionalism, and steadfast commitment to justice. The responsibilities ahead may be daunting, but they are also filled with opportunities to make a profound impact in our Jamaica land we love. In closing, let us celebrate not just your accomplishment here today, but also the promise for tomorrow. Together, we can build safer communities and foster trust between law enforcement and the publics we serve. Congratulations, one. Congratulations, all. On this significant day of attainment in your career, we are excited to see how well you will lead with courage and compassion in your new roles as we continue to make our JCF that place for good. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, all, welcome, and do enjoy this remarkable, momentous occasion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sir Fletcher. Now, it is one thing for us to say, we need a course. You know, we want to produce more inspectors, and we need a course to take them across the Rubicon from sergeant to inspector. It's another thing to design said course. It's another thing to execute said course. And the next voice you will hear is that of someone who is an architect in course design of this nature. And so he will provide an overview of the course. He's a man for whom people will run through brick walls. Put your hands together for the one and only Acting Commissioner, Dr. Terence Bent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wish to adopt the protocols established by the chair and by the acting training officer for the JCF, and I salute you well this morning. I've been asked to provide a background as to the course that has been delivered to satisfy your curiosity of the quality of the people that sit before you this morning. The Inspector Development Training Program is in its second version. In our first cohort, we asked the questions of the participants. Tell us what we did well, what we did not do well, and ask for improvements. It is the Kirkpatrick model of training evaluation. And having had those comments and the surveys done, we created what I consider to be an improved version of the Inspector Development course. The Inspector Development course is an incremental, experiential, modular training program. Incremental in that it builds on the learning of each of the members in their previous dispositions and ranks. So we do not offer them things as a constable, a corporal, or a sergeant, but those things that will propel them beyond their current station. It is experiential in its delivery. We ask each member to share their experiences as a member of the sergeant rank, and from that, I believe that we got enough material to understand the challenges that they expect to face, the challenge that they have faced, and from that type of learning allows for a greater impact in the changing of the skills, knowledge, and attitudes that are demanded for the rank of an inspector. Modular, in the current training delivery, modern tertiary learning institutions ask that we group the topics in such a way that they can be focused. The learners can be driven to think along a particular path for the different subjects in a particular area. I will now briefly indicate to you, ladies and gentlemen, the 5 modules that were delivered and some key topics that were delivered so you can understand the depth and the breadth and the training that was offered. The first module was leadership and personal effectiveness. These are the soft skills that every police officer should have in terms of communicating with the public and their members, emotional intelligence, how your feelings affect the feeling of others, because the more you rise in the ranks, you need to be cognizant of how your interpretation of feelings affects your delivery of your leadership skills. Also within this module were topics such as ethics in policing. We know that JCF, like any law enforcement in the world, is questioning about corruption, ethical behavior, and ethical thinking. So we thought it important to build out that particular subject within the personal development. Communication, public speaking, and how the members are going to use their emotional intelligence and soft skills as leaders were some of the critical areas. Because as we grow, apart from the professional and technical skills, the humanistic nature of leaders is important to get things done. The second module, as would be prescriptive, was station management and police administration. Now, we understand that the unit of police delivery is either a police station or a police office. But this police station has all of the facets that can be transferred to any unit within the JCF. So in this part, things like ISO 9001, Quality Management System. Commissioner, you'll be pleased to know that people quality and technology, the hallmark of the QMS, was delivered. We spoke about the issues of records management, personal management, the bread and butter of policing, but we pitch it at a level for an inspector, the person who is in charge of a unit. So you know the leaders from where you're from, so we want you to articulate and look through the lens. I'm not as a sergeant or a corporal, but an inspector who wants to become a deputy superintendent very soon. The other area we looked at was policy and procedures. The quality management system of the JCF is based on the plethora of policies, manual procedures, and SOPs. At their level, they should be cognizant of those critical policies and SOPs. Currently, the Data Protection Act and policy, protected disclosures, diversity policy, sexual harassment, diversity policy, are some of the not normal policing activities, but it ingrains within their psyche, need to understand these policies and apply them, because if it is not procedurally correct, you could end up at King Street, because where procedures are not followed, there's an administrative responsibility. So we thought it important, gentlemen and ladies, to remind them to think of these not as your supervisors, but as middle managers in the delivery of the procedures. A critical aspect in the training program was the issue of operational management. So despite the backgrounds of the various members, whether you're an administrator, a close protection officer, a frontline police officer, we thought it critical, Commissioner and Prime Minister, to talk about things like the body-worn camera and the management of the body-worn camera. So contrary to the current discussions, the JCF is preparing a cohort of inspectors to manage the policies which were designed for accountability, transparency, and effectiveness. Things like preparing an operation order, public order, because those are the things that are affecting operations in the JCF. So the members, ladies and gentlemen, were properly schooled and given practical exercises in those. Finally, we looked at crime and criminal investigation. It's the bread and butter of policing. People don't hear about cases cleared up, investigations underway. So we actually developed a module that looked at a missing person report that morphed into a murder, so that all of the steps of the investigation, they're able to manage it and prepare a case file that can be defended at a case conference, inter alia, before a tribunal of lawyers. So those were the 5 critical modules that they were exposed to. But how do we test the value of the learning and the training? Through a robust evaluation exercise involving practical demonstration of skills learned, written exams. Police must do exams to test the knowledge. So we had oral presentations, because Mr. This will tell you, not every police is going to go to a crime scene, have a CPO, but every police must be able to communicate. So you need to do research, have material, and present a presentation to either your peers or to the public in a cogent and articulate manner with the proper references to the research material. A station plan is the microscope of police planning. If you can develop and produce, measure, monitor your targets and your performance indicators as you rise to the ranks of the JCS and get to the commissioning ranks, this skill will be invaluable to any inspector who wants to be a deputy superintendent. Operational planning is the development of a plan that speaks to the information that you've developed, your intention that you want to deliver, your risk assessment around the plan, the methodology, the administration and communication, and the human rights requirements, not only for Jamaica, but internationally. So what we've developed, gentlemen and ladies, is the ability for them to articulate a written operations order. If you're going for a wanted man, you're doing a major event, and if needs be, you have to go before a tribunal, you can articulate the steps that you took within a prescribed format to deliver that plan. And finally, we did a written exam, not a multiple choice, but for them to explain to us certain critical lessons learned and taught to understand the nature of policing. In closing, I want to commend the syndicate directors. Could you just please stand for me? If you were to cast your eyes to the back of the room, you'll see 5 inspectors who are schooled in policing at different levels. We have an investigator, we have an operations officer, we have an admin person, we have an all-rounder, and we have a criminal investigator, come station manager. I believe, sir, that the selection and the direction and erudition provided by these persons in adult learning is commendable. And I just want to thank you from the top and bottom of my heart for developing this wonderful cohort. My area of expertise, apart from policing, is educational leadership. I have a tertiary or terminal degree in that area. So I want to use that background, Commissioner, to rubber stamp this particular training course as fit for purpose for inspectors in the JCF. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bent. So now we appreciate what these individuals have been up to for the last 8 weeks, is it? 6 weeks? We don't say 8, man. 8 weeks. 8 weeks. They know it's 8 weeks because they felt it. and their sleepy eyes will tell you. And the road work that they had to do in some places that they had to go and some things that they had to undergo will tell you. Yeah, they know it's 8 weeks. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to invite to bring remarks a gentleman who has caused the weekly force orders to become popular reading. For some reason, every week, you see the force orders yet? You see the force orders yet? I have never, and once upon a time I worked at another place, and we used to try to get a hold of force orders, and then a commissioner made it. Put your hands together for our Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it a good day to be a member of the JCF? Excellent, excellent. Wouldn't choose another career for anything, eh? Excellent, excellent. I know the welcome has been given already, but please permit me to recognize our Prime Minister, the most honorable Dr. Andrew Holness. I also want to recognize our ministers, Mr. Delroy Chuck and Mr. Robert Montague, popularly known as Bobby Montague. I want to also recognize our deputy commissioners, Mr. Clifford Blake and Richard Stewart, our acting deputy commissioners, Karina Hood and also Warren Clark, other assistant commissioners, other senior officers, beautiful looking gradients, other members of the JCF. Oh, sorry. No, this man is in charge of administration, you know, so I can still lose my job. My most sincere apology. Acting Deputy.
Other members of the JCF, members of the media, friends and well-wishers as you go out in your numbers, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I want to commend the organizers for the course first and foremost. Mr. Dr. Bent did an excellent overview and gave us a full understanding of what the course is about.
Idealist accredited team of the National Police College of Jamaica. Give them a round of applause for me, please. I want to also commend the organizers for this graduation. It just feels like a place that I want to be. Unfortunately, we have to be out of here early. So, delivering a course of this magnitude with almost 100, and somebody asked me why 99. But it's not 99, it's almost 100, Honorable Prime Minister. Almost 100 sergeants is truly a remarkable feat, right? And it's the first of its kind in our history as an organization. And let me assure you, this is in keeping with our commitment to ensure the continuity of our mission of transforming our organization, and which is predominantly our people. That's where transformation starts. And so when it comes to effectively managing our workforce, we take no chance, right? And that's why we ensure that we invest in your development and preparation as you're called upon to perform in higher offices. And so this is critical in effectively meeting the needs of an evolving and modernizing organization. And this modern JCF is determined to fulfill the mandate that we have been given. And so let me express my thanks and congratulations to everyone who have worked tirelessly to make this possible. As I stand here today before you, and having had the opportunity to engage with you, the graduates, during your course, and also many of you prior to your course, I am very, very optimistic, and these are not just some words I'm saying. I'm extremely optimistic about the future of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and the security.
If you, for 1 minute, believe that we're doing well, just give us another month until the men and women hit the streets. Then we'll say, that's and residents, bear in mind that the rank of inspector is a pivotal one in our organization. And it is where we begin the transition from pure supervision to the broader realm of management. It is a point of translation between the tactical and the strategic perspectives. Remember we spoke about that yesterday. It is a rank, at the rank of inspector, your role will include strategic oversight, and preparing you for this is of critical importance, particularly as we push forward in ensuring a more effective and disciplined workforce. Radiance, the JCF's transformation is grounded on 3 main pillars: our people, our quality, well learned. The program you have completed is a vital part of this vision, specifically focusing on the people pillar. This is a crucial time for the JCF, especially in relation to our commitment to our people, to their growth, to their empowerment, and to the preparation that is needed to meet the demands of modern policing. The training and development of individuals stepping into leadership roles like this cannot be overstated. Policing is much more than enforcing pieces of legislation. It is about navigating human behavior, understanding the complexities of the social dynamics, and dealing with the unexpected. We must prepare ourselves for this challenge, and we must do so deliberately and meticulously. We cannot leave anything to chance, ladies and gentlemen. The preparation that you have undertaken reflects the seriousness with which we approach the evolving demands of law enforcement, particularly at this pivotal level of leadership. I trust that the course has met these objectives, and that today you stand here far better prepared than you were when you began. You have already set a high standard for yourselves from the moment you had demonstrated that you have what it takes to have gotten here in the first place. And today is yet another milestone along that journey. As you prepare to take on the role of inspector, I encourage each of you to embrace the charge we have given you. Be an agent of change within the Jamaica Constabulary Force. You are the ones who will help guide and inspire your teams. You are the ones who will bridge the gap between frontline officers and our senior leadership. And in so doing, you will play your part in our transformation journey of our noble organization. Let me close by saying congratulations to each and every one of you. Today is both a personal achievement and a step forward for the JCF as a whole. I am genuinely proud of you, of what you have accomplished, and I look forward in great anticipation and with optimism to see the impact that you will make. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and all the best graduates as you embark in this new chapter of your careers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CP. So I gather that this particular graduating class is blessed with many talents, individually and collectively. So we will see how talented they are now. At this time, we're going to have, before a duet, we're going to have an actual group presentation, I gather, a group song. And then Detective Sergeant Crystal Morgan and Sergeant Jason Miller will give us another item. So over to you, graduates. very multi-talented 99 soon-to-be inspectors. Put your hands together for them. They have made their prayer and supplication known. They are asking God to guide them with their grace and give them faith so that ultimately, as they serve this nation with distinction, that they will be safe and they will make Jamaica safe and they will make Jamaica feel safe. Put your hands together one more time for them. Now, at graduations, we present what the course was like from an administrative perspective. But it is always important to hear from the graduates themselves, what was this course really like? I am very curious to hear from them. And to tell us, we have coming Detective Sergeant Joseph Gray and Sergeant Tanika James. Put your hands for them. They're going to give the course reflection. Put your hands together for them. Keep the applause coming, man. Make them feel good. Make them feel good.
Prime Minister of Jamaica, Dr. the Honorable Andrew Holness, Dr. the Honorable Delroy Chuck, the Honorable Robert Montague, Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake, Deputy Commissioners of Police, Mr. Clifford Blake and Mr. Richard Stewart, Acting Deputy Commissioners of Police, Mrs. Karina Powell Hood, Mr. Andrew Lewis and Mr. Warren Clark, other senior officers, divisional commanders, families, friends, well-wishers, the media, the graduates, 99 strong, a pleasant morning. I am Tanika James, and with me is Joseph Gray. We will be your sailors as we navigate the waters of our course.
The theme for our graduation is The Real Voyage, Embracing New Vision, Transforming Destiny. Our journey through the Inspector Development Program was no ordinary course. It was an odyssey. Each moment, each challenge was a step further to the path of discovery of one's self, purpose, and the weight of our roles.
The journey we undertook was akin to Marcel Proust's words. The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. With each phase, we were transformed, gaining insights that would redefine how we see the law, our communities, and the true responsibility of leadership.
The call to adventure, setting sail. Our first call to adventure was daunting. We started with the grueling application process, complete with physical assessment, polygraphs, final interviews. Like sailors hearing the distant call of the sea, we answered, and 99 of us were summoned, and we were prepared to take this voyage. We set sail the moment we received that acceptance email. Suddenly, we were no longer standing on familiar shores, but embarking on a journey that would transform us all.
Arrival at the Port of Growth. Orientation on Thursday, September 19, 2024, marked arrival at the grounds of the National Police College of Jamaica, where we met Dr. Terence Bent, Acting Assistant Commissioner of Police. He also the Director of Planning, Research and Development Branch, who would eventually serve as our course director. Alongside him, we had Inspector Suzette Kelly, our Diligent Course Coordinator, and Syndicate Directors, Inspectors Rodney Matthews, Althea Richards, Nicolette McKay, and Terrian Warren greeted us. They provided an overview of what lay ahead and established expectations for our transformation. We prepared for the rigorous days to follow. Orientation was the port where we received the maps and tools needed for the voyage ahead.
Navigating the storms, confronting the elements. The real work began on Monday, September 23, 2024. From day one, we felt the intensity of our journey ahead. Every challenge, every lesson on leadership, public speaking, conflict management, emotional intelligence, and performance management was a wave to be conquered, demanding not only our skills, but a new way of thinking. These lessons laid the foundations, building the essential frameworks for leadership, empathy, and effective management.
The weeks that followed built upon these foundations. We immersed ourselves in crime scene management, disciplinary procedures, a rigorous mock trial, and the importance of records and file management. Each lesson prepared us to navigate the multifaceted role of an inspector.
The theoretical and practical aspects of the program became our compass, steering us as we learned to navigate the intricate waters of law enforcement leadership and management. Yet, this voyage was not merely a technical one. It demanded inner resilience and the vision to see beyond the surface. During our practical experience, we anchored at several divisional ports, deployed as divisional duty officers to gain hands-on experience. Each port call provided invaluable insights, further equipping us to command at a higher level on the vast sea of responsibilities that lay ahead.
The climax, the Commander's Challenge. Our defining trial came in the form of the Commander's Challenge, a daunting trek through the relentless rain that turned into nearly impassable terrain. It was more than a physical test. It was a true storm, pushing us to summon strength from within and to trust each other. Whether mornings or afternoon, we trudged forward, each step pulling us closer to exhaustion, but the shared struggle bound us as a unit. It was this trial that transformed us from individuals to a cohesive crew, proving that we could endure and excel together, even under the harshest conditions.
The stages of crew bonding. During our voyage, our cohort navigated Tuckman's stages of group development: forming, storming, norming, performing, and adjourning. Each stage became a critical chapter, showing us that true growth requires vulnerability, adaptability, and unity. These diverse skill sets of the group fostered collaboration, respect, and learning, leading to a strong bond. By embracing each other's strengths, we were able to build trust and rely on each other's support. The unity we shared and the purpose we have created this cohesive and high-performing team. Together, we became more than just a cohort. We became a team ready to face the complexities of our roles with newfound strength and vision.
The port of laughter, the crew members who lightened our load. As with any challenging voyage, there were moments of levity that kept us afloat. Basil Bailey with his class captain heroics. Jerome, Mr. Bean, never failed to lift our spirits. The sprinters, Gray, Hare, Jones, Evangelist, Graham, Hunt, Berry, Sweeney, and Wallace made the journey to the cafeteria an amazing race. Whilst the sharers, Harris, James, Scarlett, and Brown, paraded to the front as if it's their rightful place. The sweepers, headed by Thomas, Bennett and Brown caught quick naps before and after lunch, bringing laughter all around.
Through the F-define and the dreaded would-have lines, they turned these intense days into an experience of joy and camaraderie, weaving humor into the fabric of our journey. The constant Zoom meetings, the late night settings, the case file preparations, the plans, the assessments, the 10 minutes presentation, whetted our appetite for a day of relaxation. Our group social was poised to be special. Before long, we were not disappointed. Sun, sea, and sand refreshed our minds, steadied our hands, and sealed our bonds.
Anchored the journey, gratitude for our guides. Every journey needs a compass, and we were fortunate to have leaders who guided us with wisdom and purpose. Our captain, Dr. Blake, along with several other senior members of his crew, graced us with their presence. Captain Blake's vision of transformation, focusing on people, quality, and technology, was expertly imparted onto us. He reminded us that this transformation starts with us and that our task is not in seeking new landscapes, but rather having new eyes.
DCP Stewart, head of the crime portfolio, addressed us Voyagers with a call to action, to speak positively of our organization and consistently do the right thing the right way. This, he assured us, is the way to leave an indelible mark on those we lead, fostering a legacy of organizational success. Acting DCP Clark, who guides the strategic operations, urged us to embody strength as leaders, to be sober-minded, judicious, and conscientious. He reminded us that as we steer our teams, our leadership must always align itself with the strategic priorities of our organizations, charting a course that aligns with the vision of higher command. In his address, Acting DCP Lewis, overseeing administration, framed policing as a business with stakeholders who expect impactful results. He underscored the role of inspectors as a strategic problem solver and emphasized that we must approach challenges with insight and readiness to drive effective solutions, qualities that will steer the organization towards its goals.
Our journey was guided by the unwavering standards set by our course leaders. The course director grounded us in leadership and integrity, shaping us into confident navigators. Inspector Kelly, our course coordinator, held us to the highest standards with a sharp eye and a resolute voice, always pushing us forward. If summoned by her, we knew a stern course correction was imminent. She was committed to setting things right, ensuring we stayed on track towards our true potential. Our syndicate directors, like seasoned sailors, shared invaluable insights, broadening our perspectives and enhancing our growth in lasting ways. Alongside us, our fellow participants became trusted shipmates, mentors, friends, forging bonds we'll carry with pride. Every facilitator, every crew member supported us tirelessly, making this journey unforgettable, with their dedication lighting our path.
Docking, new eyes for new horizons. Through daily devotions, uplifted spirits, birthday blessings, and moments of both anxiety and resolve, we navigated this challenging terrain together, guided by camera with enhanced knowledge, but with newfound skills, attitudes, fresh insights, and a steadfast commitment to serve with empathy and integrity.
So as we embrace this new vision and transform our destinies, we leave this course not just with new roles, not just with an expected new rank, but with new eyes, ready to lead, ready to inspire, ready to safeguard the image of the Jamaica Constabulary Force and to protect and reassure the citizens of the communities in which we serve. To our fellow graduates, this is not the end of our journey, but with our continuous networking, we start a new chapter. An open horizon is calling us forward. Thank you.
And bon voyage.
Thank you very much for that comprehensive and even lighthearted reflection on the course that they have been through. At this time, we're going to prepare to hear from our keynote speaker. The only rule that applies to the introduction of the speaker is that the introduction be not longer than the speaker himself. So at this time, to apply that rule, I welcome Sergeant Sharona Smith. Put your hands together as she comes.
Master of Ceremony, Dr. the Honorable Delroy Truck, the Honorable Robert Montague, our Commissioner, Dr. Kevin Blake, DCP Clifford Blake, Acting DCPs Andrew Lewis, Warren Clark and Karina Powellwood, SSP Aaron Fletcher, other officers, distinguished guests, fellow graduates, pleasant morning. It is my privilege to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, ONPC MP, Prime Minister of Jamaica. We are pleased to welcome Dr. the Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, who is steadfastly focused on building partnerships to achieve the vision of shared prosperity for all Jamaicans through inclusive economic growth and meaningful job creation. The Prime Minister is committed to making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, and raise families, do business, and retire in paradise. Ladies and gentlemen, the Prime Minister.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Please. I noticed the Commissioner and the Assistant Commissioner pointed out that your training doctrine would be people, quality, and technology. And it has become a doctrine because before ACP could finish, you completed it. So it is now a part of your thinking. That is the embodiment of transformation. Now, the Commissioner called you beautiful. I will just say you look good. Yes, you do look good. And you will permit me if I get a selfie with you. People, quality, people, quality, technology. Nice. Did it record? People, quality, technology. That's it. This is a moment to save for posterity. You may not realize that you are a part of history, but you are. Jamaica has struggled long and hard to get to this point, to say that we can witness the transformation of the JCF. It's a long struggle. It started from the 90s, when we thought that the only way to do it would be to import foreign officers into our ranks. We did get some benefits from that. We struggled with a culture that became well established and difficult to uproot. We struggled with resources. We struggled with keeping people in the force. The attrition was very high. You recall those days? My conversation with the commissioner just a while ago is that you are now slightly above your establishment of 14,000. And now you're recruiting more persons than those who leave the force. The JCF is a place where people want to stay. The transformation is happening. The challenge, of course, is that whilst it is happening internally, the real transformation is when the people you serve, all by unified acclaim, say that the force has transformed. But transformation, as you know, it's a process. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight with the snap of a finger. It takes a lot of planning. It takes quite a bit of reinforcement of the new rules and regulations and policies that we have put in place. Transformation, at the end of it, you will see a difference. When I was at the Ministry of Education, as a Minister of Education, we too had the vision to transform education. And we usually ask ourselves, what does transformation mean? What is a transformed system? And I recall we had a consultant who advised us on the whole process of transformation. And he said something that I'll always take with me. He said that transformation is the change from being a caterpillar to a butterfly. I mean, is the caterpillar the same as the butterfly? Well, it's the same being, but it's not the same entity anymore. And that is what we want to do with the JCF. I mean, pardon the analogy, not necessarily the same, but we want to see real change in the JCF. And just by looking at the cohort, it is clear to me that the JCF is going through this change of moving from being a caterpillar to a butterfly. But you know that there is a process in between that change, where the caterpillar gets into a cocoon. And that is where all the biological changes take place. Well, in a sense, the JCF is in this transition. It's in the process. It's on that journey of transitioning. It's not there yet, fully. But you're moving steadily towards that process of transformation. And I'm very pleased to be presiding over this transformation as a Prime Minister of the country, because this transformation can only happen with the government support. And it is not just wishful thinking, where we have had previous administrations who have talked about this. We have many reports written about it, several. I can pull many reports about what we should do to transform the force. But I really want Jamaicans to get to the point where they understand that anybody can give a good talk. Anyone can say anything. It's wishful thinking, unless you have the resources to put behind it. And what this administration has done is to put the resources behind the JCF. We have put the resources in remuneration. We have put the resources in infrastructure, technology, quality, and people. In fact, if you look at our budget and what we have spent over the last 9 years, it would eclipse several times over what was spent in the last 30 years. So the point that I want you to make a part of your doctrine is that the government is committed to the transformation of the JCF. Not just talk, but in substance. This is more than a graduation. It is a testament to your perseverance, dedication, and readiness to lead as inspectors. The largest cohort to date, 99 strong, and I was the one who asked the commissioner why 99. And he said we didn't find the 100th. But that was very profound, because this is not about numbers. It's about who made the cut. 99 strong, comprising both corporals and sergeants, demonstrates the JCF's commitment to developing leaders who will inspire your teams to serve, protect, and reassure the people of Jamaica that you are a force for good. The course was designed to enhance competencies critical to middle management and supervisory roles, addressing essential competencies within the inspector rank. Through a curriculum that spans leadership, personal development, station management and administration, public order, operations management, policies and procedures, and crime and criminal investigations, you are well prepared to lead with integrity and professionalism. This training is pivotal in the JCF's transformation journey, which focuses on people, quality, and technology. And this training underscores the people component that is fundamental to the organization's progress. As inspectors, you will now stand as role models for officers who look to you for guidance, upholding the highest standards of the JCF. The responsibility is substantial, but I am confident that each and every one of you is ready, willing, and fully prepared to excel in this role. The JCF's motto, to serve, protect, and reassure, it's more than just beautiful words put together. It's your doctrine. It now defines you. It must be what you believe in. It is your call to action. As you step into this new chapter, you are encouraged to be active contributors to a renewed, transformative vision of the JCF, one that strengthens national security, builds safer communities, and enhances public trust in our law enforcement agencies. The journey of transformation within the JCF, as I've said, it is ongoing, and each of you would be advancing this process of transformation. The JCF of today is not the JCF of 10 years ago. It is evolving, and so are the tools we deploy in the fight against crime and the strategies we develop in the fight against crime. And I want you to reflect on some of the things that we have done. That is a part of the transformation, that you would consider them to be milestones on the journey of transformation. Project Rock, rebuild overall and construct. We have revitalized the physical foundation of the JCF, delivering 14 modernized, citizen-friendly, secure police stations, with 5 more underway. These buildings represent our dedication to both officer welfare and public safety. We're going to be building probably the most modern police station in the Caribbean, and we're doing that in Spanish Town. Ground has already been broken and work has started. It is going to be the most modern. In the era of rapid technological change, the JCF has embraced new tools to improve connectivity and accountability, upgrading to the P25 radio communication network, deploying body-worn cameras. And there, let me pause a minute. The government of Jamaica is committed to the deployment and use of body-worn cameras for the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and indeed, where necessary, for the JDF. There is no conflict, there is no indecisiveness. It is something that we are doing and will continue to do. There is a sense, however, that these implementation and deployment of technologies like body-worn cameras can be done with merely the snap of a finger. For us to deploy effectively, because we could always do for show, buy body-worn cameras and pin them on your uniforms. But when you go to collect the footage, there is nowhere to store it. There is no storage. Okay, all right, let's say we store it locally. There is no consistent management. A computer goes down, you lose all of that. So for us to deploy cameras, it is not about the deployment of the camera. The camera is the least of the system of being able to capture real-time footage of police doing their duties. First of all, we have to build a back end to store the data. We need to have a data center. Then we need to be able to connect the cameras to docks and docks to that data center. There's an entire infrastructure that has to be built with broadband connectivity to move the footage from the docks to a secure data center. That is about, well, more than $1 billion of investment that will have to be made, which we have started to. We have in procurement now over $200 million for cameras. And we procured last time about $70 million worth of cameras. And we continue to procure. So I want the country to be assured that the government is 100% committed to having body-worn cameras become a standard feature of the police officer's kit. But for it to be done, it does take serious planning. Now consider, with everything that the government has to do, if we're going to be spending billions of dollars on the technology, we also have billions of dollars to spend on the roads that people complain about, the garbage to be collected. So it can't all be done all at once. You elect governments to make the decisions and the trade-offs, what you do now, what you do in the future, to get everything done. And I think that we have made the correct decision as to how we are moving ahead with the deployment of the technology, not for show, but for the real effective use of the technology. Because you can have cameras and they don't help because you don't have this entire ecosystem for it to be used. And so we are building out that ecosystem. And by the way, the same applies for the Jamaica Eye cameras. You can have cameras, but if they're not connected to a C5 center, meaning a joint intelligence operational center where you can bring in all the feeds and properly analyze them, it makes no sense. And so we are building out Jamaica Eye, we are procuring cameras, but at the same time, you will know that we have procured a C5 center, meaning a command, control, communication center where all of this feed from the cameras can be properly analyzed and used in intelligent ways. And you would also know that we are building out our broadband network because it is on that broadband network that the traffic from the cameras can travel to your C5 center, which you will then be able to properly use as intelligence to guide your operations. So again, I give the reassurance to the public that we are investing heavily in the technological improvements for the JCF as part of the transformational strategy. But we are not just investing in technology for show. It's not a computer on a desk that somebody doesn't know how to use, or the computer is not properly provisioned to do the job that we require of it. No, we have properly designed an ecosystem where everything works together. It is integrated and they are all communicating together. That is what we have been doing. It does cost quite a bit, but once the investment is there and the people know how to use it, you will begin to see massive improvements in our ability to deal with some of our crime problems. So again, the milestone that you should mark is the investments we are making in technology. And you would have, I believe it was 2 years ago or a year or so ago, the JCF put on their own display of all the technologies that you have, and it was so impressive. Another major milestone of the JCF is that the JCF is now ISO 9001 certified. The JCF is now aligned with international standards of quality management, ensuring a consistent, high level of service across all stations. Now, to become ISO 9001 certified, it's not a small deal, that's a big deal. And you should be proud that your organization has gotten this certification. I don't believe there is another police force in the Caribbean that has that certification. But I don't believe there are many companies in Jamaica that has that certification either. So it speaks volume for the leadership and management of the JCF. Improved mobility. Through our investments in vehicle procurement, we now have greater accessibility, visibility, and faster response time, and better management of the fleet. There was a time when we would only procure cars. Now, the JCF does not merely procure cars. We procure the vehicle, the parts, and we have our specific designs that we give to the suppliers. So we want cars of a specific type. So we are procuring a capability. And that is where we're going to eventually be, where we give the design for the car that we need for Jamaica's circumstances, and the suppliers build to that capability. And now, we have tracking capabilities on most of our cars. So, this business of the police car park up at a bar, well, it's only going to be there if it's on duty, assigned, and we know, but not for any other duty. So, the JCF has come a long way. So we know where our fleet is relative to where there might be an incident. So we know how to direct the nearest mobile asset to the scene where it is needed. So our capabilities have improved, and that is indeed a milestone. I'm not here saying that we have enough cars. We still get the complaints that a station in some remote area doesn't have enough cars, or there is no car there. We still get those complaints. But what is important to note is that we are building out, and each budget we make greater allocations to get more. Design of what we need, then we go through procurement, and then the service actually has to be delivered. So between the time of the need identified to the time of the delivery of that need, there can be a lag. And whilst you are waiting, you really don't matter about that lag. You're not concerned about that lag. You want to get the service now. But it's important that we communicate such that frustration doesn't lead to adverse decisions, that understanding of the challenges will inure to a better outlook and a better perspective from the public as to what is happening. Because the JCF's mobility has improved significantly over the last 10 years. Significantly. So we need to communicate to the public that those areas that the transformation has not yet reached, that they will get the vehicle. Their station will be repaired. There is now a system and a process, and it is ongoing because the government has made the budgetary commitment to ensure that it gets done. So the JCF is in this process of transformation, and you are agents of it. And so you need to be able to communicate this to the people. And I say at this point, and I'm going to raise a matter which might be delicate, because I have had reports of people complaining to policemen or complaining to persons in authority. And the response would come, you know, see your government not giving a car. The silence is deafening. That is not an agent of transformation that says that. If you are true agents of transformation, you would be able to point out all the changes that have happened. And the response would be an assurance. And that's what leadership is about. That's what leadership is about. I think I've made a point. The JCF has introduced new branches and portfolios, such as public safety and the Traffic Enforcement Branch, the Community Safety and Security Branch, and the Welfare Department. These additions strengthen our responsiveness, community focus, and overall effectiveness, while also ensuring that we support and care for the dedicated men and women of the force who serve and protect. And we have seen these investments pay off significantly. Major crimes continue to trend downwards. Murders in particular are down 2 years in a row. I want to pause there and make a few points. Jamaica's crime problem way exceeded the capabilities of our security forces. Just consider a police department like New York City would have thousands of investigators relative to the number of murders that they had. Consider Jamaica. We didn't have enough investigators relative to the murders we had. So one investigator in Jamaica could possibly have 10 or 15 cases to deal with. One investigator in New York may have 1 to 5. So the problem is way above our capabilities. What do we do as a government? Two-pronged strategy. Strategy number one, attenuate the problem, meaning bring the problem down to the capability of the force, which is why we use states of public emergency. If you look at what our sister country in the region has done, El Salvador, they used the SOE, they call it state of public exception, to bring down their murder rate to a level where their security forces could manage. We used a very light version of the SOEs to attenuate, to bring down the level of crime. But we also had another strategy, and that is to improve and increase the capabilities of the security forces. So we have increased the number of policemen from, I believe we were at one point about 11,000 CP, about 11,000, and now we are just above 14,000. We have increased capabilities. We have made massive investments, as I've said, in communication technology, which has increased your ability to gather intelligence. We have invested heavily in training investigators and officers, which have, again, increased your capabilities. We have invested in the leadership of the force. And all of that is paying dividends. So, you know, I think there's been a kind of misplaced analysis and diagnosis of Jamaica's crime strategy. I don't think people fully appreciated what it is that we have done. There is a view that we have relied on SOEs. Absolutely not. We've just used that to ensure that the problem doesn't escalate further beyond what we can control, whilst we take the time to invest in the security forces so that what we call regular policing would be able to treat with the problem that we have. Now, as it relates to regular policing and the problem that we have, there is the notion that Jamaica has a murder problem, a homicide problem. The truth is that if you were to take away murders related to gangs, then our murder rate would be at or below the regional level. So what we really have is a problem with organized crime, with gangs. And so we are going to increase the capabilities of the JCF to treat with gangs. And that's what we've been doing. And that's why when you had 300 gangs documented, Now you're down to somewhere, every time I speak, there's a different figure. So the last time I heard CP, you're about 180 from 300. 170? 178. Moving from over 300. I'm saying all of this so that as the new middle management of the JCF, that you understand what is the overall strategy. Now, as we invest in degrading and eroding and eradicating the gangs, the JCF can't have any of its members involved in gangs. None of the JCF members can be in any way, shape, or form associated with offering support, giving information, taking money from, being friends with people who are in gangs. It must not happen. And it requires a change in culture. Because, unfortunately, over the last 30 or 40 years, there has been the infiltration of the police force by criminal organizations, many of them parading in ways to suggest that they are, regular business people. We are friends. I go drink at his bar. We go have a talk. It must change in the JCF. We must, as the people who are protecting the country, separate ourselves in every way from the organized criminal gangs. It could be a school friend. You could have grown up with them in the community. Separate yourselves from them. They mean us no good. They have been the bane of our existence for the last 40 years. All of them who pretend that they are dons or dads or supporting communities and keeping treats and helping people. At nights they call up the daughter of the community member or call up the son and send him to go and rob. And we have been friendly with many of them. This batch of the new leadership of the JCF must make it a part of your doctrine. We don't associate with criminal and gangsters and people who are involved in organized crimes. If you really want to see the transformation of Jamaica, get rid of the gangs. And that is my message to you at your graduation. Impactful leadership, that's what we want from you. So with all the changes that we are making today, you can see that we are reshaping the JCF. We are reshaping the JCF into an institution where people can trust it, and people have the highest respect for the organization. And with all the investment that we are making, I had the occasion to attend a night in my constituency recently. It was of a young man who, there's a new profession now called social media influencer. So he's a TikToker. He's 19 years old and apparently very popular on TikTok. I won't go into any details. Unfortunate incident. I can only repeat what was in the press, that he was on a motorbike with another youngster, and there was an accident involving the bike and a police car, and he was hit off the bike and he died as a result of injuries sustained. I went to visit the family, and as I've said, there's nothing that, the most difficult part of my job really in dealing with constituents would be when I have to go to a home to console a family when a loved one has died. And it is even more difficult when the loved one who has died there was some state involvement in the death. Because ultimately, you know, I lead the executive branch of the state, and you know, I do bear some obligation to the citizens on this matter. So it was very distressing. But the upshot of it was, as a result of this, you know, they had lost faith in the police. When they recounted how they were treated and how the state treated them, it's really very distressing. Because remember, you know, they see themselves as your taxpayers. They are citizens. They pay your salary. And for somebody to say to them, give me your phone, and take the phone. Go over there, sir. It dehumanizes them, as if they have no rights in their state. So, if we're really talking about transformation, that is where it is. If we're really talking about getting the public on our side, that is where it is. How do we change this culture that has terribly infiltrated our police force as to how we treat citizens? They're human beings. And when they are in a process, when they are in distress and trauma, we have to train our police officers to understand this. And to be able to respond in a way that is respectful and meaningful and helpful. So there is a family with, you know, youngsters who are going to school, who are doing well, who are asking questions, you know, to their mother, why did my cousin die? He's a 9-year-old and he's trying to grapple with this death. Can you imagine whenever he sees the police now, it's a totally different perspective when he's over here in the conversations in the family about police. So we are investing billions in the police, but the transformation isn't yet reaching the people. So at your graduation, I'm not even going to ask the commission, I'm tasking you directly, because you are the people who are going to make it happen. You are going to be in charge of the stations and the formations and the groupings. The only redemption in the situation was one family member said, well, one of the khaki suit men came up and spoke to us. So, I want you to lead, first of all, with respect. Respect the citizens. It's a difficult job, I know. When you're in the crowded towns and you have to deal with the taxi men and people who want to fight you off and don't have any respect for authority. I understand that. But hear what happened now. You are the authority figure. And if you descend to that level, you give up your authority. You will always have power, but authority is a process of, you know, agreement to submit to power. And what you want is authority, that the citizens agree to submit to your power. Otherwise, you become a dictatorship, which could be brutal. You have to remember that. And not because you have on the uniform, automatically means you have the authority. It's how you conduct yourself. And I have to stress it to this group because we have invested billions of dollars to get to this point, and it cannot be wasted. The citizens must feel the transformation of the JCF. I want you to lead by example. You're going to be in a situation where you're faced with the squaddy mentality. As squaddies, this is what we all did. Bad things happen, well, it's my squaddy. We'll find a way to get through it. If that continues, all the money we have spent will be wasted, and the transformation will be wasted. You must be able to stand up as leaders and say, regardless of you and I were in the same training group, what happened is not right. How many of you would be willing to do that? Is that now a part of the new doctrine of the JCF? I want you to embrace accountability. Accountability has several elements to it. The first of it is you must record what happens. And I'm sure that that is part of the doctrine of the JCF, that you document what happens. And secondly, the people who are responsible for what happens must be held to give an account for it. Sometimes no action is taken, you know. But the accountability process means that something has happened, explain what has happened. If sanctions are necessary, then sanctions will be applied. So I want you to embrace that. I want you to empower your teams. As leaders, sometimes we want to do everything ourselves. Sometimes we fear the next man or woman and don't give them any tasks lest they excel above us. But that's not true leadership. You do well when those you command do well. I want you to engage with compassion. You have to be firm. Jamaica is a place where you have to be firm. But that doesn't mean you cannot have compassion. Conduct your duties with compassion. Respect the people. Preserve their dignity. Help. And that is how we will transform not just the JCF, but we will transform Jamaica, land we love. I'm very proud of you. I am satisfied that we have created leadership that will lead the force and that will reinforce the JCF as the force for good. Officers, I congratulate you on your own personal achievement on completing the course, and I charge you to transform Jamaica. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. We truly appreciate it. I'm going to ask you not to get too comfortable. We have a presentation. Sergeant Rondine Rattigan is going to make a presentation to you on behalf of the graduating class.
Good morning, Prime Minister, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. It is an honor to present this token to you. It is an honor to present this token to you on behalf of Cohort 2 of the Inspector Development Program. We are thankful for your continued support of law enforcement in Jamaica. your leadership, it strengthens our service, and it ensures that we are better able to serve and protect our communities. We thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. All right, we're coming to the moment that they have been waiting for. It is a large batch, so we will do the next few things very efficiently. To do so very efficiently, I'm going to call a very efficient person. Deputy Superintendent of Police, Ms. Cheryl Brown, is coming, and she will explain how we will handle this portion. Put your hands together for DSP Brown.
Master of Ceremony, Mr. Dennis Brooks, Senior Superintendent of Police, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Delroy Chuck, Minister of Justice, the Honorable Robert Montague, Member of Parliament, Dr. Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police, Deputy Commissioners of Police, Assistant Commissioners of Police, senior officers and other members of the Jamaica Constabulary, special invited guests, graduates, all, good afternoon. The moment these recipients have been waiting for, the receipt of these certificates signals the end of a journey and the beginning of a new one. I will call the names of the recipients in their respective syndicate. They will stand. The syndicate director will also stand in support. Our Most Honorable Prime Minister and our Commissioner of Police will assist in handing over the certificates to one member of each syndicate, but I will direct as we proceed. Syndicate 1, can Inspector Suzette Kelly stand for me? She is the coordinator, and the director for that syndicate. And the names are Sergeant Nicholas Shorter, Sergeant Crystal Morgan, Sergeant Gary Mackenzie, Sergeant Latoya Rodney, Sergeant Oral Jenkins, okay, I'm advised to tell you that you can reserve your applause at the end. You can do it at the end of the names after each syndicate being called. Sergeant Natasha McIntyre Samuels, Sergeant Keron Thomas, Detective Sergeant Nicole Reed, Sergeant Fitzroy Rochester, Sergeant Antoinette Thomas, Sergeant Junior Ives, Detective Sergeant Cleve Malcolm, Detective Sergeant Jerome Jones, Sergeant Jason Miller, Sergeant Kirkland Davis, Detective Sergeant Michael Graham, Sergeant Byron Anderson, Detective Sergeant Eccleston Cooper, Detective Sergeant Omar Fairclough. And that is for Syndicate 1. Syndicate 1 will remain standing. Sergeant Nicholas Shorter, could you come forward, please? And our Most Honorable Prime Minister will come forward and he will make the presentation of the certificates. Sir, I want you to remain. I feel so important having the Prime Minister standing next to me.
I want to do it down here.
Syndicate 2. Sorry, Syndicate 1, please be seated. Syndicate 2, now that director is Inspector Rodney Matthews. And the names are Detective Sergeant Patrick Lindsay, Sergeant Tanika James, Detective Sergeant Brian Samuels, Sergeant Jean Miller, Sergeant Julaine Richards, Detective Sergeant Martin Walker, Sergeant Denise Bennett, Sergeant Medica Margon Sweeney, Sergeant Latoya Wheatle, Sergeant Mario Taylor, Detective Sergeant Everton Garrick, Sergeant Marvin Wallace, Sergeant Carlos Campbell, Sergeant Horace Robinson, Sergeant Ricardo Reed, Sergeant Omar Bryan, Detective Sergeant Caron Cameron, Detective Sergeant Jermaine Folks, Sergeant Damian Miller, and Sergeant Antoinette Burton. Detective Sergeant Lindsay, could you kindly come forward? And sir, I will detain you one more time. Can you please be seated, Syndicate 2? Syndicate 3, and the director is Nicolette McKay, Inspector of Police. And the names are Sergeant Latoya Buchanan, Sergeant Jodian William Scarlett, Detective Sergeant Ansel Gordon, Detective Sergeant Alicia Reed, Detective Sergeant Dainsworth Bailey, Detective Sergeant Shamal Wisdom, Sergeant Sonia Williams, Sergeant Terrian Affleck, Detective Sergeant Anthony White, Sergeant Dwight Burrell, Detective Corporal Demoy Douglas, Detective Sergeant Rondine Rattigan, Sergeant Deidre Thomas, Sergeant Christopher Tucker, Sergeant Leon Fisher, Sergeant Sidonie Scarlett, Sergeant Tanisha Brown Spence, Detective Sergeant Cherie Marrett, Sergeant Chester Manning, and Sergeant Edgar Barrett. Sergeant Latoya Buchanan, could you come forward, please? Thank you, sir. Could you please be seated, Syndicate 3? Syndicate 4. And the director is Inspector Althea Richards. Our Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake, will now ask you, sir, to present these certificates. And the names are Sergeant Graham Evangelist, Sergeant Christopher Booth, Detective Sergeant George Coburn, Detective Sergeant Cordith Willis, Sergeant Andrew Spencer, Detective Sergeant Debbie Jennings, Sergeant Marguerite Gardner, Sergeant Florizel Thompson, Detective Sergeant Sasha Gay Mullins, Sergeant O'Neill Brown, Detective Sergeant Garfield Livingston, Sergeant Patrick Dixon, Sergeant Sonora Newell, Sergeant Omar Matlock, Detective Sergeant Robert Robinson, Detective Sergeant Darnell Harris, Sergeant Michael Heron, Sergeant Garfield Ellis, and Sergeant Raphael Jones. Sergeant Graham Evangelist, could you come forward and receive the certificates on behalf of Syndicate 4? Could you be seated, please? It's not many often you have at this stage and this level to dictate, so I ask you, sir, to remain right here, sir. Okay, Syndicate 5. Inspector Terrian Warren is the director. And the names are Sergeant Cindy Brown, Detective Corporal Dr. Shalane Fraser, Sergeant Basil Bailey, Sergeant Joyce Chamberlain, Sergeant Anishka Flanagan Monroe, Detective Sergeant Sharona Smith, Detective Sergeant Violet Berry, Sergeant Chantal Myers, Sergeant Nicola Thomas, Sergeant Horace Hunt, Detective Sergeant Sean Brown, Sergeant Angelita Hamilton, Detective Sergeant Greg Gibbs, Detective Sergeant Joseph Gray, Sergeant Howard Hamilton, Sergeant Barrington Huntley, Sergeant Handel Harris, Sergeant Lawrence O'Connor, Detective Sergeant Jermaine Jenkins, Sergeant Ricardo Hare, and Detective Sergeant Jason Morgan. Come forward, Sergeant Cindy Brown. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You may be seated. You can now have a seat, Syndicate 5. The Most Honorable Prime Minister, ladies and gentlemen, today marks another historic day in the Jamaica Constabulary Force, and I am happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Brown. Well, at this time I'm going to invite to deliver the vote of thanks, because appreciation and thanksgiving is so important. I'm going to invite Sergeant Florizel Thompson. Put your hands together for him as he comes.
before Sergeant Thompson comes, there's an individual who drives a Honda motor car. You may have some trouble getting into it and away from here, as I have your keys.
Master of Ceremony, Mr. Dennis Brooks, Senior Superintendent of Police, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Right Honorable Delroy Truck, Minister of Justice, the Honorable Bobby Montague, Member of Parliament, Dr. Kevin Blake, Commissioner of Police, Council of Deputies, Assistant Commissioners, Area Commanders, Divisional Commander, Gazetted Officers, members of the media, special invited guests, graduates, good afternoon to you. I am honored to stand here today to express our heartfelt gratitude to all those who made this ceremony possible. Our guest speaker, Dr. the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica. We appreciate the information that you shared. More so, the part that you spoke about rock and the transformation of the JCF. The C5 technology that we implemented in the JCF, you spoke about it, and I can guarantee you, with that C5 program, we are going to have more C4s. Commissioner of Police, Dr. Kevin Blake, sir, we're convinced that you're a transformational leader. You're the right man with the right plan at this point to transform the JCF into the force for good that we're speaking about on a daily basis. You spoke about transforming people, quality, and technology, and sir, we're a part of the change that you're speaking about. Portfolio officers, Mr. Richard Stewart, Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Andrew Lewis, Acting Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Warren Clark, Acting Deputy Commissioner of Police, Assistant Commissioner of Police, Ms. Karina Powell-Wood, Acting Deputy Commissioner of Police. I thank you for providing us with strategic guidance on our course during your presentation. Thank you very much. Dr. Blake. I am hearing my audience say that I'm going to have to buy it today. But sir, the transformation that is taking place, your deputies, when they came and made a presentation to us, we get the information that they bought into the concept and they're prepared to drive it to us, the members. And I can tell you, sir, that the transformation is taking place right here as you speak.
Honorable Prime Minister, the butterfly that you spoke about, it is right here. It is right here. Now, I can say to you that this transformational moment that we're facing and we're part of, the production team here today is hotel management and staff,